Ben Woestenburg, and this is breakfast after. Oh no, wait, what is it called? Live after breakfast with my brother. There we go. And it was a good breakfast, filling, and I've cut back on my food intake, believe it or not. Oh look, I have a visitor. Hello, Doc. I love it when I can call somebody Doc. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Anyway, yeah, so I had breakfast with my brother, and I gotta tell you, my brother's a little challenged at times because I tell you. So, he had, multigrain toast, and then he's like, he gets up, he says, "Well, I gotta go to the bathroom." And then we were laughing and saying something about the multigrain, and he says, "Well, I like to eat multigrain because it scratches that tickle on the way out." Like, "Oh my god, are you for real, bud?" And I said, "Hey, I think I'll use that for my quote of the day today." Yeah, yeah, because, guys being guys, that's what they do. So, anyways, I have to kill a bit of time. Hopefully, other people will join. It's only been a minute and 30 seconds. And I have two, Dr. Al, Axel, and Bob. And I'm so happy to have you guys here because, I never get people here. But that's okay. That's okay. I don't mind. I like it. Anyways, I've got a new project happening. I don't believe you two have heard me mention this before. I am writing a series of 12 novellas. I've finished the first one. It took 10 days. 10 days to write a novella. Like, oh my God, 30,000 words. It was like, I just couldn't stop. I loved it. Love it. And it is based before the Trojan War and, well, before the events of the Iliad and the Odyssey. Well, not the Odyssey, because we know that's later. But before the events of the Iliad, because the Iliad only covers the last 10 days of the siege of Troy, and this takes place during the 10-year siege. It starts before the war, and it involves a young boy who's 10 years old. His name is Antiphonus, and he is the youngest child of the second wife of King Priam, who had 50 sons and 50 daughters, but he had 5 wives and 17 concubines. Well, according to me, he did, because, one can never have too many. And so then this young boy is going to, he has his half-sister, Cassandra, whom he calls Cassie, and and her twin brother. You didn't know she had a twin, did you? His name was Helenus. Calls him Hal. And we also have Hector, and we have Deiphobus, and we have Paris, and we have Helen, and we have what do you call Andromache? That's Hector's wife, Andromache. And yeah, so it's an interesting story because it looks at a totally different side of the Trojan War, and it's going to follow the growth of this young boy, and he is telling the story as an old man, so he gets away. So just so you know, no spoiler alerts. He gets away because it says so right in the very first paragraph. Yeah, he's alive. And he gets away because he escapes with Aeneas during the escape, and there's that. But 12 novellas. I have this series of novellas that I write, and I'm putting them out in trilogies. I call it Trilogy. Volume 1 is out right now, available on Gimme Books. And that is the Bridges of Rome. 3 stories that take place in different parts of Rome at different times. And then after that, we'll have Tales of the Vienna Woods. That's volume 2, and then volume 3 will be the African Songbook. But every one is called a trilogy, and then after that, after volume 3, then we're gonna get into this one, and that's going to be the Trojan Cycle, and that's 4 volumes of my trilogies. So that's 12 stories. And I was gonna put them out like a story here and a story there kind of a thing, but, I can't stop myself. I just wanna write it because it's just such a cool story. I'm just loving it. And, well, there's that. And I was going to raise the price. I was going to raise the price of my, Substack for the pay, but instead, I dropped it. I dropped it down to what? 83%, down to $5, a year, forever. So, hey, you guys, like, sign up, $5, and then you get to have this. Well, this is live, you're here right now. But, you get to have, all of this, and then you get to look at I can do this, eh? You get to do all of this, and then you get to do my, what do you call, serial novels. The one that I'm reading today is like a serial novel. That's, what is it? The Beginner's Guide to Time Travel. And then I have, after that, I'll have Jack of Diamonds that I'm doing on Wednesdays. Then I was going to start the Apocryphy, but I don't know what to do with that now because I was going to do that starting next week. I was going to do the Apocryphy on Monday, giving away a free one, and on Friday, I was going to put it behind a paywall. And then it's kind of like work it through so that you whatever, right? But I don't know what to do now because I just want to do this, and I don't want to bite off more than I can chew because I tell you, it, I mean, I'm only doing what do you call it? A novella and a novel, and I say only like it's so flippant. But that's enough. That's a lot. Because I'm doing the reading on Tuesdays. Then on Thursdays, I'm supposed to be doing Poets Corner, but I've missed that a couple of times because I've had issues. I have issues with my computer freezing up on me and stuff like that because I gotta get rid of the memory and stuff. I need more room because it keeps freezing. So there you go. And so that I have a lot of things that are scheduled basically for the whole week. And if I put in, well, because I get so distracted just writing the trilogy, the Trojan Cycle, as I call it, I get so distracted writing that I forget all the other stuff. Sorry, I'm not supposed to swear, but hey, I can't help it. Industrial language is my forte. Get it? Never mind. Anyways, since it's just the two of you, I love reading to 2 people, 3 people. 2, 3 people. I love it. Reminds me of reading to my kids when when they was younger. What did I do to this? Oh, there we go. I'm going to read the Beginner's Guide to Time Travel, chapter 28, I think. Let me check. Chapter 29. Chapter 29. Okay, there we go. I believe. Wait, I screwed up again. No, it isn't. Chapter 28. Give me a break. I'm so dumb. I don't know where the hell I am anymore. All I know is that I typed it out. Printed it out. Okay, yeah. Chapter 27. Sorry. Chapter 27 and chapter 28. There we go. Are you ready? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go now. There was a censor beeping somewhere in the distance, and Allison came on to tell me there were 2 sentient beings claiming to be with the local chapter of the AP. Sentient beings, I thought to myself. Excuse me. Sorry. Sentient beings, I thought to myself as Sandy came out of the back room, her short blonde hair still wet from the thermidor. She was wearing my shirt and little else. She stretched up to kiss my cheek, giggling. I looked down at her, curious but expectant. Do you want me to talk to them? She's laughing, of course, and I smile at her, shaking my head. Before or after you get dressed? I ask, walking out to the chute to greet my guests. The enamel walls slide down as I approach, and the door to the tube opens and closes with a hiss, sealing me in. A small, white, sterile room, cylindrical in shape and fully telescopic. It takes me anywhere in the apartment I tell it to. Allison takes the time to tell me she's been honing her programming of late, and I'm forced to hang on to one of the handles while she releases the airlocks, bringing the tube into a stop so that I can meet my guests at the exact moment the entry chute opens. She likes to play games like that. I never know if she's testing my limits or her own. It doesn't matter how advanced a society we become, I tell myself, you still have to meet with the AP in person. The name authorized personnel pretty well sums it up, doesn't it? They can go anywhere, they can go wherever they want, do whatever they want, and answer to no one. Well, they answer to someone, but no one you'll ever meet in your lifetime. And why would you want to? Even so, it's good to remember it's never in your best interest to avoid the AP. While I'm in the tube, I ask Allison if the guests are treated the same. Of course not, Steve. That would show a lack of respect, she says. The irony isn't misplaced. At least we agree on that, I reply, but at the same time, I'm asking myself if that's supposed to be a playful tone in her voice. The door of the tube I'm in slides open just as the two AP directors step out of the entry chute. I can hear the pneumatics still hissing as the entry chute comes to a stop and the doors close behind them. The first AP is a tall male with dark hair and gray eyes that have a feral light to them that is striking. The first thing I think seeing him is he looks familiar. He steps out extending a hand and smiling at the same time. Not that I was expecting Not what I was expecting with everything I know about APs. Jared, he says, by way of introducing himself, you know me from your game. My game? I wasn't expecting that either. And I think he must have seen the confusion on my face. The age of cataclysm, he reminds me. I know you from my game, I said, taken by surprise. I wasn't going to lie to him and say I remembered him, but he did look familiar. The woman beside him looks even more familiar, and I'm afraid I stared at her for a moment too long. I lead them into the tube, the doors slide closed, and in a moment we're in the house. The ride as smooth as it's ever been. The door closes behind us and the wall slides back into place, its glossy finish fitting into place with seamless precision. I keep getting killed off, Jared says, following me into the room. Twice so far, he adds. And then I remember him. Giral, I laughed. And he grins when he realizes I remember him. Admittedly, our meetings have been brief. But I wondered why he wasn't made a time guide while he was in the game, which I'm sure is where I remembered the woman from. This is Jen, he says, and then adds, maybe you know her better. She looks more familiar than you do, I say, looking at Sandy as she comes into the room, dressed and looking amazing. She was dressed in the height of fashion with her left breast exposed, the nipple capped off with a golden pectoral. The dress shimmered in the light. It was created with nanotech, of course. She stood beside me with her pursed lips. It was obvious she was trying to remember her. It only took her a moment. The woman had serious, short red hair. Everything about her looked familiar, and I smiled as I shook her hand, which was deceptively firm. Allison, would you send in refreshments? I said, pointing to two chairs. Of course, Steve. It would be the polite thing to do, Allison replied, sounding soft and seductive. I'm glad to see we agree. Jen and Jared were discussing something between themselves, but standing behind me, whispering. And even though I tried not to listen, I couldn't stop myself. Nothing I can hear between them makes any sense to me, though, and I think to myself, how typical. The refreshments are brought in, and I was never so grateful to taste a martini at 11 a.m. than I was at that moment. I look at Sandy beside me and smile, raising my glass to her in a mock toast. Can we ask you how much you remember about the game you were in, Jen asked. The Age of Cataclysm? Yeah, you were both in it, weren't you? I asked. I wondered if maybe I sound condescending. It's the last thing I want them to think I am, and then tell myself I'm just being paranoid. I've done nothing wrong, except to ask them a question. We know that it takes time to remember things, to sort through things and figure events out. So we wanted to give you some time, Jared says. I appreciate that. We appreciate it, I said. But what does the game we're playing have to do with an investigation by the AP? Perhaps you saw the holo about the latest murder. I saw it. I know the one you mean, Sandy says, taking her OJ and sitting on the couch, tucking her feet under her. Nasty business that, she says, posing and waiting. There's a sudden flash and both APs jump, startled. Sorry, I said. She has Allison programmed to snap a picture whenever she sits down in a new outfit. We were going to go out to the country, she explained. We'll try not to take up too much of your time, Jen said. Yes, well, we're trying to track every lead, Jared said with some hesitation. Then why come to us, I asked, sitting down beside Sandy. Allison snaps another picture. We believe this person is coming through a VR feed. We think that's how he finds his victims. He piggybacks his way into a game, any game. Then he finds out who's playing the game and stalks that person in the real world before he kills them. That's horrible, Sandy said. The horrible part, Jen said, is that they can't fully die, so they slip into a coma. What do you mean, they can't? I said. Only when he kills them in the game do they die for real. And you think whoever this person is hitched a ride into the game on our signal? I mean, that's it. When you take it all, the technical chic. Sorry, that's it. When you take all the techno shit chic out of it, right? He used our signal to get into the game, Sandy asked. She looked like she was having a hard time accepting it. We think that's the way he's doing it, Jared said. How many has he killed, she asked. 6, Jen says. 6? How many of them were in our timeline? 6, she replies. I don't believe that, I said. Why not, Jared asked. Because we haven't met anyone in the game outside of the game, other than you two. In fact, the only time I've met you is to see you die, I said, and Jared tried to hide a smile. I'm not very good at the game. There was one other, Jimmy. Jimmy, I think, and turned to look at Sandy. You brought him in, I think. I looked at Jen, finally realizing where I knew her. Yeah, it was you that brought him. Is that who you're looking for? She nodded. I don't understand, Sandy said. Why did you bring him into our game? I didn't. I was bringing him in for questioning. We thought the only way we were going to catch up to him was through the VR he was using. He's been known to hitch up with new recruits. I had him in custody when something happened. I don't know what, but it threw everything off. The SID over at Elite told us there was a glitch, so they gave us another week, free, I said. A glitch? What kind of a glitch does a machine like that get, she said, shaking her head. No, he programmed the glitch so he could escape. We don't know his digitals outside of the game. So you don't know who he is outside of the game? I guess that's the kind of glitch that's going to happen when someone hitches onto your signal, Sandy said, smiling. Isn't it, though, Jen said, leveling a look at her. I don't remember too much about being where we were. Steve remembers more than I do, but that's because she turns to look at me. This is her? That's what I'm thinking, I said. She's the one you were traveling through the wilderness with. Her. With her tits out. She looks at Jen and smiles. Those are nice tits, by the way. Am I supposed to say thank you, she said. Doesn't matter. I said it. It's out there, Sandy laughed. I smiled, not knowing what else to do. He's a time guide, isn't he? Sandy said softly. We all look at her and she looks up, smiling. It has to be. Why? Jared asked. It's what the SID at the kiosk said they call people who beat the game. That means they never died once while they were playing. They were able to stay alive and regenerate. Wait a second. Regenerate? You can do that? Jared asked her. How do you think Steve was able to stay alive? Sandy asked with a shrug. How come you didn't tell me about that? He asked Jen. We thought you might like to try the game in real time, she said, trying to hide behind her smile. Who thought that up? Party? This isn't the time or the place, she said, and turned back to look at us. Sorry, a little office humor at his expense, but you're right. Time guides are people that have beaten the game. Why do you think it's one of them? That's what I am. You beat the game? I mean, legit? That's what that means, right? that you beat the game. Yes. And you already knew what happened, Sandy said. They told us it was a glitch, Jared said. After we lost him, they apologized. They offered us my game time. The SID at Elite, the time guides can enter the game anytime they want, Sandy said. And they can leave too, I added. Jared said, why does he enter the game to choose his victims? A lot of people do it from their homes. We were going to, but the SID suggested we come in first to be monitored. They have all sorts of extra goodies that they give you when they stay in the kiosk, I said. Goodies? What kind of goodies? Jared asked, looking at Jen again. She smiled and tried not to laugh. I suppose you got the goodies too, he asked her. Did you tell them you didn't want the goodie bag? I asked, smiling. Bags? You mean there's more than one? I didn't tell them I didn't want the goodie bags. No, it was party, wasn't it? Bastard kept everything for himself. You get a bag as long as you don't die in the game, Sandy smiled. Sorry, you died, Jen smiled. I'm sorry, she said, looking at me and trying not to laugh. I apologize, Jared said, looking at us both. We're supposed to be conducting ourselves in a professional manner, and I let an office prank get the better of me. That's all right, I said. Puts a different light on the AP as far as I'm concerned. Time guides, Jen asked. Why? Yes, Sandy said. We were going to take the game home, but like Steve said, the SID suggested we buy the Elite program first. The exclusive. You get pampered. I guess we already knew. Only know. Blah, 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 blah. I guess we already know only one of you stayed at the kiosk. Did you do it at home? She asked Jared. We did it at the station in a controlled environment. What did you think you were going to get? You were going to find, I asked. No, Sandy said slowly. Why our game? That's what I want to know. We told you. He finds new recruits and piggybacks his way in. How many has he killed? She said. So far, we found 6 bodies, Jen said. Yeah, you said that. How were they killed? I asked. You know we can't tell you that, Jen says. Well, were they all killed the same way? I tried. Was it a laser? Sandy asked, and I shifted myself to look at her. Allison snapped another picture. Why do you think that? Jen asked, looking at her for a moment too long, I thought. It was something I saw. You were there, she said to Jen. I remember. You'd already died, she said to Jared. Of course, he said. I do remember, Sandy said. There was a glitch of some sort. We were both in the heads of the two others we met, Whit and his wife. But I thought we were Whit and his wife, I said. The time guide had come into the game to help us, she said to me, as if reminding me, and I nodded. Jimmy, I said. He never said there was a problem. I remember that much. He never said anything about being in a game. It was so real. It was after. That's when we found out there was a glitch. The SID told us. That's why it offered us another week for free, Sandy said. That's why I never thought twice about it, I admitted. Yes. Jimmy, Jen said. He's the one we're looking for. What do you mean? He was with you. I remember that, I said. That was the first night we were in the game. We got separated because of the glitch, and Jimmy brought us all back. He fixed the glitch from inside the game. He said he was your brother, Sandy said to me, and I nodded. Do you know who he is? I asked, looking at Jen. I think it shouldn't be too hard to find out who's won the game. It can't be a big list, Jared said. I enjoy standing out on the veranda, looking out at the city where it spreads out below me, the lights drifting out toward the horizon. It's nice living on the 43rd floor. You can still see the sunset for one thing. The veranda is enclosed because the temperature is a little cooler up here. Allison keeps the temperature set at a comfortable 22 Celsius. There are a couple of louvers up near the top that are partially open, allowing the air to circulate. The windows tint during the day. Nanotech again. It's everywhere. Sandy comes out to join me on the veranda, tucking her legs under herself and asking Allison for a cup of coffee. It only takes a moment to brew it and have the service bot bring it out. She sits, sipping her cup, her hands wrapped around the mug and blowing on it between sips. She's watching the sunset over the Vandals. The colors are brilliant. The sun reflects off the windows around us, and the windows reflect the light back like diamonds. I found out why those two APs showed up today, she says between sips. Oh? I turned to face her, my hands behind my back. And that would be they found a pregnant woman last night. What does that mean? She was in a drainage ditch. Is that supposed to mean something? Does it mean anything to you? It should mean everything to us, she said, looking up at me. Why? Because we're still playing the same game, right? Of course we are, I said. What's that girl's name, the pregnant one? She was the wife of the hunter guy, Wit. But I thought when we started, that was me. I remember being him and you were my wife. Everything went for shit with that glitch, though. Didn't we change timelines? She sat up. A small knee-high tubular pedestal came up from the floor for her to put her coffee on. We did, she said in a slow voice. But we went back into being the garbage man and the cop, thinking we'd time traveled. Remember? That girl. Wit's wife, I said, trying to remember her name. That's the part that's annoying, the not remembering. His pregnant wife, she reminded me. I'm pretty sure she didn't die in the last game, I said. She did. What do you mean? When? I don't remember that. That's because I never told you. How'd she die? Remember when we went home after that first night and you asked me how I liked it? I said it was a little different from what I'd expected. Yeah, not exactly the ringing endorsement you want to hear after spending 3 million credits. When they do those initial tests on you, they look into your background. And? So? We've got nothing to hide. You don't, she said. What's that supposed to mean? The memory they gave me when his wife was taken by the slavers, remember that part? When we were separated because of the glitch? You were the garbage man and I was the cop, only instead of being Wit and his wife, we were in their heads? Yeah, I was with her, Wit, and her brother. That AP guy, Jared, she smiled. Yeah, him, Jarrell, I think. But he died, and he died twice. When they fixed the glitch, Wit died, and then the girl. He never told me she died, I said, because the scenario they gave me was her being raped. What? Why would they do that? I exploded. I'm going to demand my credits back. Don't be ridiculous, she said. I hardly think that's being ridiculous. My point is, and I do have one, that this time guide is piggybacking off of our games. That means he's in control of our games. But I know what I saw now when we met him the last time. When he saved us from the glitch, what? I saw him kill Wit. Does that make some kind of does that make me some kind of a witness? Those two APs are right, and he has to kill him in the game because he's already killed him in real time. What does that mean about the woman they found? You think she's Wit's wife? I do. She's not dead here, though, remember? They said his victims fall into a coma. They can't die because part of them is still inside the game, and since we were in the kiosk, I'm thinking he somehow spliced into our game to access the other players. That's what he kills them, while they play the game at home. Do you know who it is? Do you? She asked. All righty. Oh, look at that. I got all sorts of people. Oh, Jimmy's here. Hey, Jimmy. Okay, chapter 28 from Helen. We stepped into the tunnel with a hard wind blowing in behind us. I could feel the wind ripping at the fabric of my shirt, clutching at it, and turned my head to see a heavy cloud of sand and grit chasing us down the length of the tunnel. I looked ahead and saw Ricky pushing his way into the darkness. The cramped tunnel was starting to flatten out, the walls closing in around us. I was ducking my head more often, afraid I was going to catch one of the old water sprinklers hanging from the ceiling. There was sand all around us, swirling with the wind. When I caught up to Ricky, he was on his knees, digging at the old sand which was piled up to the ceiling. As soon as I was able, I was on my knees beside him, Jeline beside me. I could see light shining through the hole at the top of the pile. I climbed up as high as I could and began kicking at the top of the pile, pushing it out of the other way. Soon there was a hole big enough for me to crawl through, and I scurried up the pile, pushing my way through, head first, and sliding down the other side of what looked to be a pile 30 feet high. How many years has the sand been blowing in here? Ricky came through a moment later, followed by Jeline. I could hear the wind howling through the small hole we'd made, a cloud of dust following us like a shadow. We all slid to the bottom of the hill and took a moment to gather ourselves. Ricky stooped down to pick up the pack and his weapons. "Where to now?" he asked. "It's not safe in here," Jeline said, looking about. There was light coming in through the grate above us, but it soon paled as the sandstorm slid between the buildings, blocking off the light. I didn't feel any better about being where we were than Jeline did, and I said as much. Ricky just nodded, looking through the pack for the wind-up light he said he knew was in there. It only took a moment, but in that time the tunnel became darker. He wound up the little crank and then turned it on. The tunnel was about 20 feet wide, tiled with ledges. I thought it might have been an old sewer line, one of the main arteries in a downtown core somewhere, and we started to follow it, looking for a way out. There had to be storm drains and manhole covers somewhere. Of course, there was the possibility that everything was buried under endless centuries of sand and grit, and there was no way of getting out. "Why do you say it's not safe?" I asked Jeline. "Why?" She sounded as if she couldn't believe I'd asked such a stupid question. Considering everything that had happened over the past few days, I was thinking maybe she was right. I started looking into the dark corners, thinking someone, or worse, something, was going to jump out of the shadows and attack us. "Okay, stupid question," I said, more to myself. "There are no stupid questions," Ricky said. We followed what looked like an endless tunnel. There'd been no signs of life. There were no footprints or paw prints to tell us we weren't alone. There were old cobwebs that caught the light whenever Ricky paused to crank the small handle, but other than that, nothing. I could feel a breeze, though. "Can you feel that?" "The air," Ricky asked. "So you do. That's why we're going this way." "Wait, what do you mean?" "We've been following it pretty well since we started walking," he said. I looked at Jeline and she nodded. I hadn't noticed. I'd simply been following along blindly. I don't know if it was because I was afraid of what was hiding in the dark or afraid we were never going to find a way out. And why should I and why should I be afraid? I had to ask myself. I was armed. I still had a gun. There was a sudden blinding flash of light ahead of us, and Jimmy was back. All of us had our hands over our eyes, fighting the sharp pain of sudden light in the gloomy darkness. It took some time before we were able to fully open our eyes again. "Jesus Christ, Jimmy," Ricky yelled at him through his hands. "I'm sorry, little brother," Jimmy laughed. "There's no warning you, though, is there? Where's Jen?" "I don't know. I sort of lost her." "You lost her? What do you mean? Where?" "Well, if I knew that, she wouldn't be lost then, would she?" He laughed through the darkness. "Are you here for a reason? Are you going to help us find our way out?" "You mean, have I figured out how to get you back home?" "Yeah, something like that," I said. "Haven't they missed us?" Ricky asked. "Hasn't who missed you?" Jimmy said. "The people in our lives. It's not as if we didn't have a life back there, is it?" "Well, actually, it is," he said. "What are you talking about?" Ricky said. "The past, or maybe I should say, the life you lived in the past, is so far removed from here, from where you are now, it doesn't even exist." "I don't follow you. I thought you said we were still there, but like Gramps was, in a coma. It's more like time there has come to a stop." "A stop?" I asked. "I don't follow you." "It means," he said, leveling a look at me, "that the timeline you were living in back then no longer exists here. That time has come to a stop. It stopped the moment you left it. Everything that was in it has ceased to be creative." "Creative? That doesn't make any sense," Ricky said. "You told me Gramps was in a coma because he was actually here in this time. Now you're telling me something completely different. So, which is it? Was he in a coma or was he time traveling? I mean, if the timeline we were living in before, the one where Wit was with us, has changed and as a result changed this one, how can you tell me the one we originally came from has ceased to be? That would mean there was no us to begin with. There was no dad, no Bobby, no Jen, no kids, no mom," he said. "It's almost as if all of that was the dream, yet we know it wasn't. We both remember living it," he said, looking at me. I looked at Jimmy and nodded. That's exactly what it was like, I thought. "What are you not telling us?" I asked. "What makes you think I'm not telling you something?" "Well, for one thing, you're here, aren't you?" So, so, anytime you've shown up before, something bad has happened. Someone always seems to die. I looked at Jeline and she nodded. And what of it? Well, don't you find it rather strange? I asked. I'm here to save you, both of you. Nobody else matters as far as the timeline goes. And what about Wit? Ricky asked. What about him? He's not from the same timeline, is he? I can't interfere in his timeline and not expect it to have adverse effects. You know, Helen's right, Ricky said. About what? There is something you're not telling us. My first thought is that you show up here without Jen, for one thing. That's a little strange, don't you think? Ricky asked me, and I nodded in agreement. As as far as far as I can remember, she's the one that's supposed to be guiding you through this time traveling thing. She says she's the one they sent back from the future to help us or keep an eye on things. Maybe it was to keep an eye on you. Did you forget? I got lost in time and learned everything on my own, Jimmy said. I can't tell you what you're supposed to do, but I can help you. How? You haven't done anything yet except take us to a different timeline. Is that why you're here now? I asked. I came to help you get out of this place. Why? What's wrong with this place? Where's the danger? I asked. What if I said it was right around the next bend? I'd probably say you're lying, I said. Then maybe I should just help Ricky, he said. Why? Because he's your brother? Can you think of a better reason? Or another one? You're not leaving anyone behind, Ricky said, stepping between us. We're all going together. I'm not leaving you behind, he said to me. Or you, he said to Jeline. As much as you might think that, I'm pretty capable of taking care of myself, Jeline said. There was an unspoken confidence in the way she was standing in front of us. I had no doubt she could take care of herself, but there was the issue of her pregnancy. And what about the baby? I said. What about it? She asked. Do you think you can give birth in the wilds alone? People have been doing it since time began. Why would you say that? Ricky said. Say what? You said since time began, but you don't know about time. So why would you say that? I don't know. Why do you say half the things we say? I understand about hormones changing a person and shit like that, Ricky said to me, but don't it strike you funny that now she suddenly understands about the concept of time? I don't follow, I said. What are you trying to say, little brother? Jimmy said. Ricky looked at Jimmy and hesitated. Then he shook his head and turned away. He walked into the dark gloom of the tunnel before turning around to look at it again, to look at us again. Then he broke into what was obviously a fake smile. Nah, it's nothing, he grinned. Just overthinking things, he said. There was a junction up ahead, and I have to admit I could smell the fresh air, and there was light as well, to the left. Ricky held a hand up for us to stop. He took the pack off and notched an arrow in his bow, pressing himself up against the wall before looking around the corner. He didn't turn back to look at us and didn't seem surprised when Jeline crept up beside him. She pulled out her long knife, and I instinctively popped my holster open. For the first time, I wondered how I still had it. I'd lost almost everything I had except for my shoes, my pants, and my holster. Damn, I'm not even wearing my own shirt. I looked at Jimmy, and while he didn't look to be too frightened about whatever lay around the corner, he wasn't ignoring the threat. Or was that a possible threat? I don't know. He looked at me and tried to smile. He wasn't successful. I crouched down and crept forward, looking around Ricky's knees. I couldn't see anyone or anything, but there was a shadow. Ricky looked down at me and I nodded. I melted back against the wall. This would have to be done quickly, quietly. The last thing I needed to do was fire a shot down here. Not only would we be deafened by the sound, but we'd be telling whatever was down here that we were coming. I decided to holster my weapon. Everything inside me told me not to be a fool, but I didn't want to risk firing out of instinct. Anything that came into sight would be a possible or maybe probable threat. Would I be able to stare a predator in the eyes and not fire? Would I be able to rely on Ricky and his newfound ability with the bow? What are we going to do? Jimmy asked in a harsh whisper. Ricky turned to look at him and Jimmy fell silent. The next moment, he was on all fours, crawling towards me, scurrying like a toddler trying to escape his crib. I guess we're going to let Ricky practice with his bow, I whispered when he crawled up beside me. Do you know what it is? I shook my head. At that moment, Ricky stepped, step, 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 down at us and then at Jeline. She nodded up at him and then followed close behind. I crawled ahead to watch, Jimmy crawling beside me. Ricky and Jeline were pulling the body out of sight, kicking dirt over it so that it blended with everything else around us. Jimmy crept up to the wall again. Jeline moved in beside him and he squirmed out of the way. Ricky turned to me and motioned for us to make our way forward. I grabbed the path and ran at a crouch, my senses tuned into what was happening around me. I could hear the steady pound of heavy machinery in the distance. I thought was my own heart beating. I thought it was my own heart beating until I looked around the corner. It was definitely a machine. I'd never seen anything as big. I was thinking, after, that maybe it was a turbine from some abandoned hydroelectric dam. At the moment, I was thinking it was the biggest thing I'd seen in my life. It was certainly a mistake to think that these people weren't intelligent enough to have their own power, because it seemed obvious to me that it was a power generator of some sort. There were cables running out of it, big electric cables you'd see buried in a mountain somewhere, and they went up at a low angle through the side of the building above us. It seemed obvious we were in some sort of city. We were in a city of some sort. It was also obvious that the storm had blown itself out. I wondered if the man standing around the generator was restarting it. Had it shut down on its own because of the storm, or had it been done purposely, as a precaution? Why are we even here, I asked. Believe me, Jimmy said, you don't want to stay down here. Why? What are you so afraid of? Take a look at him, he said, pointing at the dead man. Why? What's wrong with him? You tell me, he said, staring at me. I looked at the body and then scurried around Jimmy, running in a low crouch to take a look at the man for myself. He was facing the wall. I rolled him over, falling back in shock. His face was only partially there. He had a jaw, but his nose was missing. It wasn't a wound or an injury, but the way he was. There was no cartilage where his nose was, so it was flat. His forehead was small and knotted. I guess at a distance, you'd think it was a furrowed brow, like they used to call in those old romance books I used to read when I was a lonely teenager. But his eyes were sunk deep and his forehead swept back. It looked almost like his forehead had been sculpted and shaped. I didn't want to look at him any more than I had to, so I rolled him back over and threw more dirt on him to dust him up a bit. I made my way back to Jimmy. What's wrong with him? 100 years ago, they tried cloning. It didn't work. They were trying to make a labor force for themselves. They ended up making those abominations instead. Human cloning? Why would they think they could do that? I said. Who was there to tell them it was a bad idea? So what are we supposed to do now? Ricky asked. We have to get past them, shut the generator down, and make our way out of the city before they know we're here, Jimmy said. And what's the point in all of that? I asked. The point? The point is not getting killed. You just said they tried cloning and it didn't work, but these things are a result. So, who made them? You think they're still alive? Jimmy half laughed. Why wouldn't they be? That's the one thing that always happens when you have slaves. What do they want more than anything? Freedom, Jeline said. Exactly. Impossible, I said, looking at Ricky. He's trying to tell us that they made enough of these things, that they grew up and reached maturity in the span of a generation. A generation is what, 25 years? What are you saying? 100 years? Do the math. Ricky thought for a moment and then nodded his head. What are you thinking of doing instead? Find someone who isn't all fucked up and maybe get some help. What kind of help? And that was the question, wasn't it? If there was some sort of civilization here, wouldn't it be in our best interest to look for shelter? We could rest up, maybe resupply, regenerate. Maybe we could get a layout of the land around us. We could say that they wouldn't who could say that they wouldn't reach out a helping hand? If they could make clones, they obviously had technology. So we bypassed the generator, Ricky said. I nodded. Oops, that's the end of it. Okay, last page is blank. Go figure. Alrighty. So I finished it. Okay, look at I got people. I got like 9 people with me. Holy smokes. Anyways, that's that. Garbage. Kinda. Okay, so let me see. I had breakfast with my brother, and it was good, and it was fun, as it usually is, because we slam America. Oh, no, not really. We question it because, we are Canadians, and, we're looking at the what? Oh, we're looking at the tariffs, and we're saying, like, "You know what? We don't want any of it." But what do I know? I'm not a politician. I'm just, like, waiting around. Just wait until the end, I guess. And, let me see, what else have I got on my mind? I have a lot of stuff on my mind, but most of it's, like, blank. Anyways, yeah, so I'm writing my story. Oh, yes, for those of you, because I only had 2 when we started this, I've started a new series. We call it a series. I wrote my novella. I wrote a novella. Took me 10 days-ish, around there, something like that. 10 days, 30,000 words, not a lot. 62 pages, the average. And, it is the first one of my newest trilogy. That will be, I think, volume 4. We're gonna go with volume 4. So that'll be 4 years before I actually put it out. Yeah. And so then, it has, 3 stories, but so far I've only got the 1. I'm editing it at the moment, and then I will be writing 2 more, and that will be the first of 4 volumes in the Trojan cycle. Sorry, Axel, Bob, I'm gonna bore you by repeating myself. So the Trojan cycle is the story of a young boy named Antiphonus, and he is 10 years old when Helen of Troy hits the land. And, he is the youngest child of King Priam's second wife, of whom he has 5, with 17 concubines. He has, by the way, 50 sons and 50 daughters, but I call it 87 because, like, poets like to have their round numbers, it seems. And so then, he grows up during the siege of Troy, because the siege of Troy lasts 10 years, because the Iliad only takes the last 10 days of the siege. So I have all of that blank space that I can call my own, and that's where I'm placing my story. So from the first novella, he's 10 years old till 12 years old. The next one, he'll be 12 years old till 14, and then so on and so on, and all the way up until he's 20. And by the way, he's the narrator, and he is alive, and he's an old man, and he's blind, and he has escaped with Aeneas through, I don't know, I don't even know how they escape. I'm just winging it. So, we'll figure that out when we get to it in the end. And, yeah, so it's an exciting concept because it's, 4 volumes, 12 stories. And I was gonna write them over the space of a couple of years, but you know what? I can't stop myself. I just want to, write the whole thing. And with that, I have to, think about what I'm doing with my, other book that I was going to put out, the Apocryphy, which I was going to put out on Mondays and Fridays behind the paywall, and then kinda like, mix things up. And so and on other news, my paywall has been dropped from my $30, 83%, taking it down to $5 for the year, and that's forever. So, like, it would be nice if you signed up. $5 is like, nothing. That's, 8 cents a month almost, like whatever, right? And what is it, 40 cents a month or something? I can't even remember. I had it all sorted out. Yeah, so $5 for the year, and for the first 150 people, you're still gonna get the, free, what do you call that, book. Sorry, because, I've got the first volume of my series trilogy, and every one of them is gonna be called a trilogy, volume 1 to 25, because 'cause I'm planning on writing 25 of them, which if I put out once a year gives me, well, we're looking for the longevity gene here. That'll take me up to 93. Like, holy shit, who wants to live that long? Well, whatever. If it's good enough for my mother and good enough for me, right? We do have a longevity gene, like everybody keeps telling me. It's like, oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to be writing. Apparently, it will be 75 novellas, which is every one of them is different. I'm going to. I have two written for the African Songbook. That's volume 3. I have to write another one, and that's gonna be a fun one. I just finished, the 3rd one for that was the one that I had most recently put out in the, Stories After 11. I mean, after 8, sorry, I was looking at the time. Stories After 8, The Revolutionary, His Wife, and Her Lover. I just, yeah. So that's, from Tales of the Vienna Woods. That's, volume 2. That will be coming out next year. The, first one that I put out will be, put out as a book in hardcover at Christmas time. So, like, tell your friends, tell your family, buy them for your friends and your families. That would come in handy. Right now, it's out as an ebook on, Gimme Books, and, can't think of anything else, okay? I'm sorry, just, like, drawing a blank. Nobody seems to, oh, do I have my questions? Oh, questions only? No, no questions yet. Nobody seems to want to. Okay, well, sending me a heart. That was me. Okay, I don't even know if you guys can hear me. I'd hate to find out you couldn't. I've done that before too, forgot to turn my microphone on. Yeah. In fact, I was recording one time, for an hour, and I hadn't turned on my microphone. Wow, that was a waste of time, wasn't it? I had to do it all over again. That took a long time. Anyways, I got another title here. I was, I was, reading a story by, what's his name? Conrad, Joseph Conrad. And I liked this line that I came on, the dwelling place of unveiled hearts. I love that. So I said, "Oh, I'm gonna use that." And it's like "from" in brackets because that's the word in front of it. From the dwelling place of unveiled hearts. I thought, what a cool title. And I think I will use that as one of the titles for my novella. Something like that. Whatever. I have to come up with 12 different titles and 4 different book titles, like the African Songbook and all that stuff. We'll see. I can't get too far ahead of myself. It's like, but I get excited. Like everything that when I start writing something, it's like I think to myself, "Oh, this is the best I've ever done." It's like I love this. As soon as I write it, I forget about the one that I wrote previously. Like so many of them. What was I mean, when I came here in June 4 years ago, I came under weird circumstances. Well, not weird, but actually horrible circumstances because I was off work. I was off work in January of that year, starting that year, January the 8th. And, ooh, if I tell you this, I might get emotional, okay? I don't want to. I might get emotional because, like, I have every right to. Anyways, um, in January of, that year, it snowed out here. We don't get a lot of snow. This is Vancouver. It hardly ever snows in Vancouver. We don't get that kind of stuff. But, we had the snow. We had snow and it snowed. Usually it snows, it lasts like, it snows for a day, maybe a little snow for the next day, and then by the 3rd day, it stops. Maybe then the rain starts, and then it washes it away. Well, this time we had an Arctic outflow, so it snowed, we had an Arctic outflow, and it lasted 10 days, the Arctic outflow did, so there was no salt in the entire Fraser Valley, which is a big area. So there was no salt because it all got used up, and so then, there was no salt at the mill, and, I drove a machine, one of those big bucket machines, and, it, carries a load of it was a sawmill, so there's bark that's called hog. That's Then you take that and you take it to a hog pile and you ship it out and they make bark mulch out of it and stuff like that for gardening and shit. And so then, I had a bucket full of that and the guy, Steve, Stefan, Stefan Emil Pearson, and, he was, coming out into the yard. He announced himself on the radio, so I knew he was coming, and he walked through a row of logs, so you can't see him. So I couldn't see him, but I knew he was coming. And but what he did was he slipped on a sheet of ice. We had new boots, new little cork things put under your boots. We call them cork boots. It's like when you go golfing, you got those little the spikes. So we had different ones that they were trying, and apparently, well, they didn't work. So he was walking and he slipped on this sheet of ice as I was driving by, and he slid under the machine. And I didn't know, and I kept driving because the bucket that I was carrying of hog, that's 10 tons, and the machine itself is 2 tons, and I ran him over, and I didn't know that. And so then I kept going and I went into the backyard and like I was loading a truck and somebody screamed out that there was a man down in the yard. And so then I didn't know what they were talking about. So I finished my truck, which only took like 7 minutes at the very most. And there's only 7 buckets go into it. And so then I was already on my 3rd when they said that. And so then I just finished off the truck real quick. And then I went out into the yard and I saw him laying in there. And he was, and I thought he was okay because he did one of those like, oh, woe is me kind of a things. And his legs were moving and I thought, okay, like he's good. He'll be fine. But it was really traumatic. And so then they got the defibrillator out and everybody was around him and all this stuff like that. And that's like I was getting really, really emotional. So they sent me into the office, told me to go away and not watch. So I did, and he died. So then I was distraught, needless to say, because I'd known him since I was 19 years old. We grew up together, basically, in the mill. We worked for 44 years together. We'd been through all sorts of shenanigans. We did all sorts of shit together. We partied a lot. We did all the bad stuff, and we raised our kids together. Like, yeah, and he died. And yeah, that was the worst day of my life. And then it's like, well, I got here 6 months. Somebody sent me an email, and I don't even know where it came from. I don't know who it was or whatever. And I looked at it, and I thought, well, what the heck is this thing? And I looked into it. I thought it was so I kept checking it out. And finally, Finally, I thought, "Okay, I'll look at it." So then I came in and I did it. And I wrote I mean, I had all these stories that I had written, and so then I hadn't written a word since January, and I still hadn't written a word, and I just started posting my stories, and I hadn't written another one at all, and then I thought to myself, I gotta write. I gotta write. I have to do something. I have to get out of the doldrum." And so then I did the, NaNoWriMo, the, national novel writing thing, and and that's when I wrote the beginner's time travel, beginner's guide to time travel or whatever. I wrote that during the, NaNoWriMo thing as a challenge to myself, and at the same time, I had started a short story, but, it wasn't working. And then, when I finished the, beginner's guide to time travel, then I did the short story, and it ended up being a novella length short story. Yeah, like 25,000 words or whatever, something of that sort. Can't even remember. And then, um, and then I never stopped. I've just kept going ever since. And it's like, and I used to write short stories. They were short. They used to be, I was like, I would try and sell them to magazines and things and send them out. And they would say, 5,000 words, and I would send them 4,990 words, thinking like, well, that's close to 5,000. Hmm. I'd always outright myself like I was writing too much. So then when I got here and there's no limit, I went, well, this is perfect for me. Like, so now I write a story and I just write until it's finished. It finishes itself. And I used to put out plots and I used to do also and work things out and stuff. I don't do that anymore. I just sit there and write by the seat of my pants. And it's like, that's because when I wrote The Beginner's Guide to Time Travel, I didn't have a plot. I just wrote to entertain myself, and so that's what I do. I basically write for myself, entertain myself, and I figure, hey, if I write it, maybe someone will like it. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Like, I don't care. Like, what do you call it? Subscribers, they come and they go. It's like I don't chase after you. If you leave, I don't chase you. I don't go saying, well, why did you leave, and what can I do to make it right, and all that. I don't care because I understand that, people lose interest. Sometimes, you have a charge card and you want to go paid because I had at one time I had 40 paid subscribers. Now I'm down to 25 because charge cards expire and people don't renew them. I get that. I don't have a problem with that. People want to come and people want to go. People leave. I don't have a problem with that because, if you don't like it, turn the page. That's what I say. If you don't like what I write, you don't want to read it, don't. Plain and simple. I'm easy. There's like millions of people out here, millions. So like, all I want to have is like, oh, I don't know, 150,000 followers. I wouldn't mind that at all. But then, that's why I dropped my price because I figured like, I could drop my price to $5 a year. And if I had 1,500 people at $5, I can handle that. Who wouldn't? Right? But in order to get that, I'd have to have 150,000 people. I'm not going to have that. I understand that. And I don't have a problem with that. I got more people on here now than I had ever anticipated ever having. Like I got 1,200 people. I never thought that would happen, but I got like 5,600 people following me. I never expected that either. I was happy to have 30 people. When I first started here and I just had like, well, you know what it was like. Well, some of you, Jimmy does. When we first started, there was no notes and there was none of these followers, and then anything that you did, it was all word of mouth. And it took me 9 months to get 100 people. But I didn't mind that at all. I got paid subscribers because my friends 3 friends on the second day that I put this out, and I went, "Oh my god, now what?" Like, I got paid subscribers, I have to give them something, and that's why I put up, serial novels because I thought, "Well, I'd give them something, so I'll write the serials." Seemed like, the thing to do. So now what I want to do if I get like enough money, because I told my wife I would not use household finances in order to like sign up for shit stuff, you know, like AI, what do you call it, generators, so I can make movies and animated cartoons and stuff like that, that kind of stuff. Because I always like that kind of stuff, and I don't have a problem with the idea of AI and all of that stuff because, well, I'm 68 years old. Like that's what I've been dreaming of all my life. This is what I figured computers should be able to do. This is like, it's Star Trek for me. This is like Star Trek, right? I mean, th- I don't have a lot of time left. Figure like, I figured 20 years was 25 years is pushing it. Like, that brings me up to 93. Like that's pushing it. But hey, it's like whatever happens, happens. I don't really care as long as I have my mind. And if I live, I live. If I don't, I don't. It's like life goes on, and then it doesn't. Right? That's my attitude. That's how it goes. I learned that way, the hard way, obviously. But I have a good attitude towards life, and I have an equally good attitude towards dying. I don't. It doesn't scare me. I couldn't care less. Like as long as it doesn't hurt, right? Who wants to get hurt? I don't want to suffer. But yeah, it doesn't bother me in the least bit. I don't care. Like I could live tomorrow, I could die tomorrow, and wouldn't bother me in the least bit. But then again, I'd be dead, so who cares, right? Dying isn't for the people that die. It's for the people that you leave behind. That's who it bothers. But hey, shit happens. We all die. I mean, you have parents and they die. The worst one is the first one. After that, you steel yourself up and you realize that the second one will be going, and you get yourself prepared for that. That's the way it is. That's life. It goes on and then it doesn't. Anyways, I'm babbling. I'm babbling because, I I told myself I was never going to tell the Steve story, and I did. That's because it's been 4 years and I've managed. Although I still have triggers, and I just don't know what those triggers will be sometimes, and holy smokes, when they happen. Oh god, my wife still calls me a crybaby pussy. It's like, yeah, 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 yeah. She's harsh. But hey, yeah, I have triggers, and sometimes they happen at the strangest times, and when they do, I get emotional, and it's like, and I don't care. I get emotional, and I like I like the emotion because it tells me that I haven't forgotten, that I will always remember, and that I'm still human. I have what is that, compassion and empathy and all of that stuff like that. And I've had an easy life, which is, my wife says to me, "You've had the easiest life I had a." Can you believe that? Wow. Yeah, I had a Tom Sawyer kind of a life, unlike her, a victim, as she liked to say, a survivor, as she likes to say, not a victim, a survivor. And me, I had nothing. It's like she said, yeah, it's like you saved all of the trauma for the end of your life, as opposed to living with it for all of your life. I just saved it for the end. And then it's like, yeah, the worst thing that could have ever happened. Yeah, well, I'm sure there are worse things. I can't think of them in offhand. Like, you know, it's not that I killed him. It was an accident. But he was my best work friend. And he'd been my best work friend for 42 years, 43 years. So yeah, that was hurt. That was hard, harsh, but it's okay. I'm babbling, and now I'm going to sign off because, like, I've kept you long enough. I've gone 10 minutes over time. Uh-oh. Anyways, I'd like to thank you all, and this is like a huge crowd. I got a dozen people here. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, does it? But, like, people don't join you. Especially when you don't have anything to say. I'm not like, what do you call it? The political pundits and all of that stuff. I don't, I mean, I'm not a Trump fan. I'm a Canadian. I'm a Carney fan because, it's like he's smart. The guy's, I think he was a Rhodes Scholar. He's, governor of the Bank of Canada, governor of the Bank of England. Like, I think he's got the creds as opposed to that six-time bankrupt. I mean, how do you go bankrupt with a casino? Like, God, that just boggles my mind. Anyways, I'm going to say ciao for now. So, for breakfast after my brother, that's what I'm calling this. This is your host, Ben Woestenburg. That's how you say my name. And I'm saying ciao for now, arrivederci, and I will see you next week at the same bat time and the same bat channel. And thank you for joining me. It's been a blast. And that's goodbye. Ciao. End live video.